what's up? You are listening to the Beats and Beans podcast, an unscripted conversation about everything music over a caffeinated beverage.
Discovering sounds and artists then, now, and everything in between.
Well, we are here.
Yeah, we got there. Got there in the end.
Well, it's amazing to be here finally and be able to sit here and do this with you, man. It's I think we have shared our love for music for such a long time because we met what 2000 was it 2015 2016.
Mate, I can't even remember when my birthday is, let alone.
Okay, I'm probably asking the wrong person then. But yeah, I mean, I remember when I lived with you in your mom's house and I slept on your sofa. But every single time that I got home from work, for some reason I was always home after you most nights. But there was always music playing, regardless of the day, the time. There was always a tune going on in the background. But to be doing this with you now, man, I think it's going to be an amazing way for us to kind of give a platform to a lot of different artists who are still trying to find their way. But yeah, I mean, I guess we can kind of tell everyone a bit more about us and our background in music, at least.
Whew. Oh, are we starting? Who's starting? You? Me? Okay, I guess I can start. Yeah, so, well, you know who I am, but for those of you guys that are watching, I'm Jamie. Music. To be fair, I still have a great passion for music. I think my passion for music started because my dad used to be a DJ back in the day. Like South London DJ, toured a bit. Huge record collection. My first record that he gave me, not even bought me, but he gave me, was actually Michael Jackson's Off the Wall vinyl. I remember I used to like bust these balls just being like, can I get my own record player? My dad being my dad, he got me one, not brand new, from a car boot sale, but I was still happy with that. I was able to play.
Back in fashion now too as well.
Tell me about it. They're more expensive now. So actually, speaking about that, I actually picked up my record player he bought me. So I've got that at home. Haven't been able to use it yet. So music passion started from there really, and then when I was living with my dad, because my parents split when I was living with my dad, same thing. Music was always on. Every birthday, he used to get me the pure R&B album because they used to come out each time close to my birthday. So I used to have one each year, and sometimes got the summer hits. And then I actually grew up wanting to become a musician. So I was singing a lot, singing in church, playing guitar, songwriting. Loved it, but I don't really know what happened, to be honest.
Life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way. Long-winded story, but that is kind of my story of how.
It is kind of mad listening to that. I'm pretty sure you've told me this story before, but it kind of refreshes the memory a little bit. But it makes me think about my background, because a lot of the music influence in my household does come from my dad. He was in a Beatles cover band, I guess you'd call it. No I'm pretty sure I've told you this before.
No, that's so jokes.
He was a drummer. He is a drummer by trade. He and his best friends, when they were growing up in school, I think it was in the 60s, he was the drummer, so he was technically Ringo Starr. But even to this day, he loves his music. There's always music going on in the house. Probably not R&B. He's more of like a classical, kind of old school rock type of guy. Okay. But he's always singing, man. Whenever you see my dad, he's always got a tune going in the background. He was always vocalizing or whistling or whatever it is. But that's where a lot of the influence came from me. And I think that kind of generated a lot of the kind of deep-rooted passion for music, as deep as that sounds. But we were saying just earlier about how life can obviously take you in different directions. I don't want to kind of delve too deep into that, but for me, it was either I choose sports or I choose music. In hindsight, I kind of wish I kept going down the other way. Yeah. But obviously, things like sports kind of grip onto you. So that's kind of where the idea of this comes from. And for everyone listening, the biggest influence for me growing up as a kid was probably my sister and my brother. we had this really old, well, really old now, but it was probably new at the time, a 1997 Nissan Vanette. But it was just like this little minivan. And I always remember my sister and my brother, they were sat in the front seat. They had their little cassette tapes, pop it on. Obviously, at the time, you'd have to make your own mixes as well. And when you say burn, that was more CDs, right?
Those CDs, yeah.
So whenever they'd play it on, there would always be like Lauryn Hill, Biggie Smalls, like the real classic golden era of hip hop. But I think that's kind of where most of the influence from me has come from, for my taste now.
That's so dope. That's so dope. It's quite funny you say that because I actually remember back to like, so yeah, like I said, my dad was a DJ. My uncle, his younger brother, he also really loved music as well. So I remember he bought me an MP3 player back in the day. So like, I think I graduated from the CD player because I used to always carry one with me on the road, like whenever we'd drive back from Kent to London. But he bought me an MP3 player because he kind of was like, that's a bit clunky and you're only able to listen to like 2 CDs, 3 CDs at a go. So that was amazing. And then what he did though is he actually uploaded some songs. And, this was like, he had some D'Angelo on there, Music Soul Child, like pure hardcore neo soul stuff. It was so dope. Like I literally remember that because I remember he used to play like some good songs in his car. He used to have like this orange banana, not orange, but orange banana.
Orange.
He used to have this yellow Fiat, and yeah, tunes galore. Like it had garage in there, like everything you could dream of for an urban kid.
Yeah. See, that's one genre I feel like I missed out on growing up, was just like the garage and jungle scene. Because I don't know, growing up in the Philippines, it was the music influence there, I'd say, is very kind of American, and I think that comes a lot from the war days and whatever. But most of the influence is kind of Americanized, which is why I sound the way I sound. I knew you like that one. But yeah, I think nowadays it is still very much the same sort of route for music. Very much mainstream. You don't really get a lot of visibility for the smaller artists. And I think that's why we were so excited to do this as well, because of that deep-rooted passion for the music. Yes, we may not be musical now. You probably more so than I am. But ultimately, I think to be able to create a platform where we can kind of give artists that visibility and be able to give them a wider audience. Yes, we are probably still small. But as time goes on, who knows?
It's literally like the old age way of trading, isn't it? Every word of mouth. Word of mouth is the strongest. Of course, you have social media, which is great, but nothing beats good old word of mouth. Whenever you tell someone about a song, like I think I listen to music more when someone speaks to me about it than when I get sent a link.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, I'll just listen to that later.
Yeah.
But if someone's like gone and just shown me it, or they're talking to me about it, and they're like, this tune is, and they're so excited about it, you're then like, oh my God, I want to listen to this tune too.
That's so true.
So yeah, word of mouth is powerful.
And it's so much easier now as well. Like, it just made me think, we were talking about like cassette tapes a minute ago. Sharing music back then, you would literally, I mean, at the point where I was really kind of getting ingrained into listening to music was when the CDRs came out, and you had the PCs, you had a burner drive, and then the drive that you actually read the CDs on. But you'd literally make, I don't know, 10 to 15 songs as a playlist on a CD. And I used to have the little zip books with the pages with the CDs on it. And then
I think I've still got that somewhere.
And like, if you want to share something, you'd be like, take the CD with you. Whereas now, you just get on Spotify, you click share, you send it to someone on WhatsApp or iMessage, whatever it is. And I think it's created a much more accessible way for musicians to kind of be seen, which I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, because like, there's some artists that, that we're excited about and that we're excited about having on the podcast, that I don't think if we didn't have the likes of Spotify, it would have been really hard to find them. You'd really have to be in that scene. But one thing I love about music streaming sites is the ability to be able to create a radio off of one song or artist. And then it gives the algorithm works and it gives you other songs, artists similar. I think that's dope. Like my knowledge on, or my memory on the name of songs and the name of who sung it, who rapped on it, is really bad. Like I cannot remember what I listened to in the car today, but I literally keep it on that radio and I'm just like, yep, save, follow, like. Obviously not when I'm driving, but save,
Disclaimer.
follow, like. And yeah, like I think just that the algorithm for that is pretty sick.
I don't know. It makes discovering a lot more easy.
Yeah.
Because as you said, there are a lot of artists that I feel I wouldn't have come across, and I mean our first guest on the podcast is someone that I came across quite early in the journey of kind of building up the idea behind this. And I think when I spoke to you about him, you're like, hey, he's got a kind of different sound. And I don't know, the way that I describe him, I'm not going to throw out too much just yet. But when you think about the moves with the modern day James Brown with the kind of neo soul hip hop kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But he's also a performer, which I think is quite rare these days.
Oh yeah.
Because music now, when I think back to the 90s and maybe 2000s of hip hop and rap, those were probably the best days for music for me, hands down. And I think nowadays rap's kind of evolved into I don't know the right word to use here. It's evolved into a different kind of platform for people to express thoughts that not everyone can relate to. That makes sense. No, it's music without meaning.
And to be honest, there's a few other big musicians, big stars that have said the same thing. But I think, one of the things that I think is different, on to the point that you mentioned, was that back then, artists had to hustle to get their music out. You had to be a performer. You had to do more. Like now, I think it's so easy and accessible to become a musician, and it's so easy, or maybe not easy. Easy is not the right word, but it's so accessible to become viral for something that you could just put one video up. Or someone can post a video of you singing whilst you're cleaning the house, and then boom, viral. Back then, it was like, it was kind of like they built a following. They obviously they hustled their own way, sold their mixtapes. I'm not saying that we have to go back to that, but I'm saying that some artists do need to think about how they're marketing themselves. It's all about brand identity, right? It's all about that. Like, at the end of the day, you are a brand. You're a personal brand as a musician. And some people that do it really well, do really well. So yeah, I think it's again, I'm not going to say it's easy because I haven't tried it, but it's just, I feel like the hustle and the grind for wanting that is a lot different. The reasons for wanting it is a lot different.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of connect that with what we're doing here, right? Like, I want to give a massive shout out to our sponsors, B+R Coffee Club. They are a specialty coffee subscription team that brings independent coffee brands into the limelight. And they give micro roasters a place to share their flavors with a larger audience, which is very similar to what we're trying to do here at Beats and Beans. By creating a completely personal approach to your morning brew, Tom and Laura give coffee lovers the opportunity to try 2 different coffees in each subscription box. From just £15.50 a month, you can get one of their fancy boxes, which comes with a full breakdown of tasting notes of each of the different types of coffees that they bring in. But they also give you a little cheat sheet on how to actually brew your coffee. We actually got in this month's pack one of the brews from Ethiopia, which I'll admit sounds really, really sweet and nice. According to the tasting notes, we are popcorn flavored. And then we've also popped open this brew from Tanzania, which we actually had for this episode as well. So thanks again, B+R Coffee Club. We love music, we love the kind of influences made on our lives. And if we can have a place where we can speak to new artists, like some of our guests that are gonna be coming on, and have a conversation about their music, their message, and be able to kind of help propagate that, the money side of things, it kind of comes second. But when you look at artists nowadays, there are so many out there that are doing it for the money.
For the money, for the fame.
But that kind of takes away from the creative element. It removes their ability to be artistic.
Yeah, agreed,
So,
agreed. Like, I was actually thinking today because I was listening to Ko and a friend who's actually one of my favorite artists who I saw live, which was so sick, a sick gig. I was listening to him in the car, and his song Good Friday, and I was just like, why do I like this guy so much? And I was like, it's actually because it sounds like he's having a conversation with me when he's rapping.
Yeah.
Like, everything that he's saying, there's truth to it, there's meaning to it, but most importantly, it just sounds like a conversation.
Yeah.
Like I can just listen to it and just be like, okay, I get that.
But that's super rare nowadays, man. Like
Yeah.
you don't, as we were saying earlier, like there's so many rappers out there that'll just rap about drugs and girls and alcohol, whatever it is, partying.
Yeah.
But people like Coda the Friend, J. Cole, I think hands down, he is in my top 5 easy.
100%.
Easy. But I don't know, there are obviously a lot of really influential musicians out there and producers who have made some amazing music.
Yeah.
But then I feel like nowadays the bulk of the music that's coming out is all about taking drugs, which isn't relatable for a lot of people.
Not for a lot of people.
But it's a storytelling element. So.
Yeah. No, but and that that's really important because obviously with with doing videography, the one thing that I find really important in terms of going with like good visuals is music. So when I'm editing wedding videos or wedding films, music is really important. Like I need to find a song that matches the couple, that's able to then enhance the story that I'm telling in those visuals. And it's not even just like the lyrics have to match them, but it's also about like what key is it written in, what's the BPM of it. Like I'm really going deep and I'm like trying to find like, okay, cool, that's an A flat, right? Is that really like the right tone to this event? These guys are really, really happy and bouncy. So, what's the tempo that I want? Like, and I think that's really, really important. So like music is a great part of telling story. And I think like even just going back to like way back then, music was it was that conversation. I remember when I was younger doing African drumming with the old djembes and learning that, and it was that conversation. Like before you start, there's this thing where it's like da 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 bam, and then you go in and bam bam bam, and it's like a call and response. And I think like we're saying, with some music that you hear these like now, there's no response. It's just calling. It's just like cool. But then how you able to respond to that? Because if you can't relate to it, then like obviously I've been to the club, like, but I don't go to the club that much. But if we're talking about something that's happening, and it doesn't have to be political, because I don't really follow politics, but it's just got to be.
Well, as you said, the storytelling element, right? But it's a gift, I feel. I mean, I'm by no means musical in that sense. Like I could never really write lyrics or anything like that, but I've really come to learn to appreciate them and the story that some artists can tell. But it's truly a gift, man. And I think
for sure,
pairing that with the ability to actually perform on stage, connect with your audience, it makes a huge difference to how big you get.
So different.
I mean, Drake, obviously, he's huge. He's got a humongous following. He's been very consistent.
Yep.
I do think he is one of those artists that is properly rated. I wouldn't say he's under or overrated, but I think for the consistency, that kind of puts him at another level. But for someone like him that has such a huge stage, like everyone knows who he is, what about the other artists that have the ability to, as you were saying, tell a story? Because I think Drake, some of his songs have kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, and maybe that's a bit of a hot take, who knows? But there are so many musicians out there that I feel deserve a bigger platform.
Oh, for sure, but that comes down to being signed.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
100%.
And that's probably a different story for another episode, but that comes down to being signed. Like when you get signed to a label, the same way where you get signed to the Man or you get signed to anything, and you end up having a management company or a company managing you and your art and your craft, like things change,
Well,
because at the end of the day, everything handled for you, or even like, you have to make money, you have to pay them, right? You have to, they have quotas, they have KPIs that they need to hit. So you have to create songs, bring songs out, and then, you know, from what I've heard and seen, like some of these processes, it takes some time. People sit on it. People take time to ponder on a song. Some, you know, for singers, it could come down to like specific moments. It was quite funny because I was trying to find a song. I think I was trying to find a song for a reel, and I was like, I really like this artist, and I want to use one of their songs for the reel. Went through literally off their whole album, and the whole album was like all heartbreak. And I was just like, oh man, like, don't they have any happy songs? And then Sophia was like, yeah, but you know, that's probably where they were in their life. They'll probably come out with some other song, but that's where they were at in their life. And it's true. You can't rush that. You can't force people to create a song about heartbreak or about happy stuff or about something that's, you can't force it. It comes from a different place. And that's what I think I would really like about what we're doing, is that not everyone that we'll have as guests are going to be signed. And I think, to be honest, being signed ain't the way to go.
I feel like a lot of them lose their creative freedom because I think some of the biggest shames is when you get an artist who is so gifted, their ability to write lyrics, their ability to have the freedom to produce their own sound, their beats, whatever. The minute they get signed, that gets taken away from them.
It's gone, yeah.
And then they get given, obviously not all musicians are like this, but you'll get some that are that aren't even writing their own music anymore. But I suppose that's kind of how the industry works. You get singers, you get songwriters, and you will get kind of 360 artists who will do everything.
It's that thing of finding out like why they're doing it. Is it because you want to become a performer? Is it because you really love music and you love the craft of it and you love the creativity and you love it as an art? It was a Diary of a CEO podcast, and it had Dame Dash on. I think he said it pretty clearly. He said it. It was very straightforward about the whole label thing, the whole thing about the art side of it and creating art. Totally agree with that. So I truly respect any artist that is not striving to become signed, but is striving to go all out and
kind of like an organic trying to transition is the word I was looking
100%.
for. Yeah, look, I think everything, obviously we kind of relate on this on a different level, and I think to sit down with future guests is going to be super exciting. I know for a fact that the next episode that we're going to be putting out is going to be a really cool one.
So sick.
You're not just going to be here stuck with us speaking into the camera.
Nope.
So we do have a special guest coming up in our next episode who is going to be here to speak to us about their message, speak to us about the music that they're putting out, the future sound that they're looking to achieve, and also give us a bit of a performance. So we're looking forward to that. We've obviously got some big plans. I know that we've got at least 5 to 6 different artists lined up. So yeah, it's gonna be good.
Should be fun.
I'm really looking forward to what's to come for the podcast. We've obviously got some exciting conversations coming up. Jamie and I are super excited for 2023 as well. Yeah, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys for listening in. But yeah, if you like what you saw, drop us a like, subscribe, comment down below. If there are any artists that you have seen yourself, we'd love to hear them. And hopefully we can maybe get them on the cast as well. So yeah, take it easy, guys.